of Rome Plan Commission public hearing, regular meeting to order for Tuesday, September 13th, 2022 at 4:00 p.m. Item number 2 is the roll call, starting on my right.
Williams here.
Janzak here. Weisinger here.
Baker,
Goldman.
Jamadi here.
also present our Town Administrator, Jamie Gebert, Town Zoning and Planning Administrator, Emily Zetis, and Town Attorney, Nicholas Flanagan. Prior to going to number 3, we lost our recording secretary for this committee 2 weeks or so ago, and we don't have any item on the agenda to elect a new or appoint a new secretary. Therefore, I've talked with Commissioner Weisinger, who will act as the temporary secretary for the meeting tonight to sign any documents that need to be signed by somebody on a committee up here.
And, Mr. Chair, if you'd be so willing, I think a motion and a second and a vote
Okay?
to designate him as the temporary secretary would be appropriate. That way, the minutes will reflect why his signature is going to be on certain documents.
Okay, then I will make the motion then to appoint Commissioner Jerry Weisinger as the temporary secretary for the meeting of September 13th, 2022.
I'll second.
Second by Lori. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Commissioner Weisinger then will be this temporary secretary for tonight's meeting. Item number 3 is to certify the posting of the meeting. Emily?
The public hearing was posted September 13th. For the September 13th Plan Commission, it was posting at the following locations on August 25th, 2022. Rome Municipal Building at 10:10 a.m., Quick Trip at 12:30 p.m., Nakusa Port Edward State Bank at 11:54 a.m., and it's emailed to the Wisconsin Daily Tribune at 2:02 p.m. The legal notice was printed in the Wisconsin Daily Tribune on August 30th and September 6th. The amended agenda was posted at the Rome Municipal Building at 1:04 p.m., Quick Trip at 1:58 p.m., Nakusa Port Edward State Bank at 2:20 p.m., and it was emailed to the town website at 3:37 p.m. on August 30th, 2022.
Thank you. Item number 4 is to approve the agenda. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion by Jerry, second by Paul to approve the agenda. Any other discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 5 is the citizen comment portion of the agenda. During the citizen comment period of the agenda, the Plan Commission welcomes comments from any town resident, not a member of the commission, on any item not on the agenda. Please note that pursuant to state law, the commission cannot engage in conversation with you, but may ask questions. The commission may refer the item to staff, a standing committee, or a future Plan Commission agenda for discussion and action. Each person wishing to speak will have up to 3 minutes to speak. Speakers are asked to submit a card to the chair, providing their name, address, and topic for discussion. I do have a card for Mr. Gabriel regarding a building in Rome Town Center.
Chair, is it okay if I give the members a handout to follow along with what I...
Certainly.
Is the mic on up there too? Thank you.
Name is Tom Gabriel, property address 1032 East Queensway. I come before the Plan Commission today to express some concerns I have going on in the Rome Town Center in the town ordinances that pertain to the questions I have. If we look down under ordinance number 360-81.1, Commercial A of the Sub-District, we're gonna focus on the Rome Meat Market right now. That is in Commercial A of the Sub-District. You read through it, item number 4 requires more aesthetic measures, including architectural requirements on all elevations, faces, as required in the Rome Town Center design plan. Pretty simple, straightforward there, one sentence. Page 2 we can skip, nothing really important there. Let's go down to item number 5, architectural standards. Exterior finish. At least 50% of the street and entry area elevations, including roof trim and eaves, shall incorporate one or more of the following materials into the design: rough wood, log siding, brick, stone, architectural block, or textured concrete. Metal siding shall be allowed as an acceptable quality material for all elevations except the 50% approved street and entry area materials as required above. Roofs may be architectural fiber, asphalt, fiberglass shingles, slate, or colored standing seam roof, or other materials as approved by the Plan Commission. Item number B, roofs may be pitched or flat. If pitched, they shall be a minimum of 6/12 pitch roof. Item number C, building elevations, at least 25% of all elevations other than the street and entry elevation shall include one of the building materials approved for the street and entry elevations. Now, after I read that, let's take a look at the Rome Town Center building. There isn't one aspect of that building that was approved by this Plan Commission that meets those criterias. There is a screwed-down roof on it, not a standing seam roof. They submitted plans. Plans are all metal. It says in the town ordinance that 50% of any street or entry shall be 50% other than metal, and 25% of the faces that do not abut a street or entry shall be a minimum of 25% of the material used in the other 50% of the building. I guess, I know we can't engage in conversation, but how did this drawing get approved, go through zoning, go through the town board, when the building itself meets none of the town ordinances that are spelled out in section 360-81-1? I built in the Rome Town Center on 2 occasions. I know the process that we go through. And yes, I was notified that there was a business going in across the street because I was within 200 feet. I was notified that they asked for a special sanitary permit. I took it upon myself to contact Adams County to find out why they needed a holding tank and not a septic system. Dustin from Adams County informed me of what was going on and that they needed a holding tank for that. I assumed that the Plan Commission would only approve a building that met the town ordinance that is spelled out plain as day. I did not need to look at the blueprints. So if they come back to me and say, well, you had a chance to, it's not my job to look at blueprints. If somebody would have asked me to look at them, I would have gladly looked at them. But if we have town ordinances spelled out so clearly in the Rome Town Center that commercial A section of the Rome Town Center, it's supposed to be the high quality, high construction, rustic charm that was designed. How did this project make it through, and what's going to be done to correct the project? I mean, nothing. The roof, the pitch of the roof, all faces of the building, nothing meets the town ordinance.
Okay, thank you. I've given you a couple extra minutes. All right, 5A.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
It said we can't engage in conversation, but we could refer it to staff. I think maybe we should put it on a future plan commission, a plan commission agenda for discussion and possible action, and have the staff bring to us some ideas as to what we might do. I would suggest that we do that.
Under item number 20, next agenda items, why don't you bring it up at that point in the agenda?
All right, I'll do that, thank you.
Under Agenda item 5A, the commission will also take comment from the public on agenda items as called by the chair, but not during the citizen comment portion, which was just completed. Please note that once the commission begins discussion on an agenda item, no further comment will be allowed from the public on that issue. The next section is no action contemplated except possible referral to future agenda, informational updates, recent correspondence, current events, and announcements. Does anybody have anything that they would like to bring forward in that regard?
I have one.
Go ahead.
The Ryan Larson Post 65 American Legion Auxiliary is actually having a wine tasting fundraiser. The ladies worked quite hard on this, and it's coming up on November 5th. So if you're interested, please get a ticket. It's $35, which is really quite a bargain for the evening. It goes from 7 to about 9:45 p.m., and we're really excited this year. They got a sommelier from Sam Valley that'll be talking us through the wines for the evening, which is pretty exciting. So they're helping them pick out the wines and helping them host. They'll have a lot of basket raffles, and it's a really good fundraiser for them. And so come out and join. Again, it's a Saturday night. It's held at Lake Arrowhead in their banquet room. And again, the tickets are $35. You can get those at the Lake Arrowhead membership office. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I would just share
You
that.
want to do your brush?
Oh, yeah, brush. So brush pickup is coming up. If you are on the west side of State Highway 13, you need to have the brush out by the end of the day on September 26th. Excuse me, the end of the day is September 25th. If you are on the east side of State Highway 13, you need to have the brush out by the end of the day on October 9th. And there's information in the lobby to pick up as far as regulations of where the brush can be placed, size and diameter. But please share with your friends and your neighbors and anyone else that you see in the town the brush pickup dates, just so everyone is aware. The other piece I would just mention is we did lose longtime member Larry Halverson. We are very grateful for his service and his service to the community, and we will, because of his passing, we'll be advertising that position in the legal notices this week of the newspaper. So if you know of anyone that is interested in Plan Commission or serving on Plan Commission, that'll be advertised this week and we'll accept applications.
Thank you. Item number 6A, Joint CDA and Plan Commission Subcommittee Review. Emily?
Yep, so we're still reviewing definitions of canopy-like structures, and we'll hopefully be bringing those to you next month. We're still reviewing comp plan map, the comprehensive map, and how to amend that going forward as well. So if you're interested in being part of that, please join those meetings.
Okay. 6B is the Grants Committee Review. Jamie, do you want to handle that one?
Jeff, I can let you do it.
Yeah, Jamie and I met with Bob Edmond, who is one of the people that were on the board with the money that came through the Community Progress Initiative. And he said there was like $76,000 in that fund.
Probably at that point, but right now there's 46,000.
Yeah, okay. And well, and the idea is to not only could we help write grants for the town, but we could also bring that money into this committee. That's the thought process, and we could also grant out money. So there's money that we could put back in the community.
So the Community Progress Initiative was started by the Barker Mead Foundation in 2004. They offered communities up to a $20,000 match. In 2004, Rome actually raised $25,000. It was matched by that $20,000, and an endowment was created for the area. Through the years, there has been less and less what-if grants submitted. They still get a couple of them, but the committee sort of feels now is a good transition, and with the grants committee formed, maybe this is a good time that that grants committee would take over the what-if grants, and that would be overseen by the town board and would lend some continuity to having a long-term endowment for the town of Rome. Again, there's about 46,000. You can only grant out 4% of 3% plus 1% for financing through encourage. Encourage would continue to hold that money and manage that money, but might be a good opportunity to have a long-term endowment for the community that could be overseen by town governance and added to and granted out from. So it's a nice opportunity since the endowment is already existing.
Thank you. Item number 7 is to open the public hearing. 7A, consideration of the issuance of a conditional use permit for the following purpose: the short-term rental at the property located at 655 Meadow Lane, owned by Little Valley LLC, Marson Wall, also described as Lot 49 of Arbor Valley Meadows, unrecorded subdivision, CSM 586, northwest 1/4, southwest 1/4, section 34, town 20 north, range 5 east, town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, with a parcel number of 030-01265. Emily?
Marson Wall is here today with us. There are 8 notice letters sent to properties within 200 feet of this affected property. Staff recommends a maximum occupancy of 8 and a maximum vehicles of 4. Those are amended based on finished basement permits being pulled. And vehicles to be parked on hard surfaces, not on lawn grass at the property. Just a reminder that the conditional use permit is one requirement of the short-term rental license. The applicant must comply with all short-term rental requirements before first rental occurs. And then Marson is here for any questions.
Mr. Chairman, can
Yes.
I ask just a quick follow-up? So I believe the recommendation that was in our notes was occupancy of 4 and vehicles of 2. So is that now being adjusted to?
That will be adjusted to 8 and 4 based on receiving permits for a refinish of a basement.
Right, but so they haven't received, so they haven't
I have
finished-
received.
are-
It's finished.
So we've issued, so everything's finished at this point?
Yes, everything's finished at this point.
So the
Okay.
remodeling was done to the basement without permits, something that's often discovered when we go through a short-term rental process. Permits now have been taken for that basement. A final inspection would need to be still completed by the building inspector.
Yes.
So, as we would get to a motion process, likely an additional condition for this one would be the final report received from the building inspector that the work completed meets UDC standards.
And so this will be the case for 3 other short-term rentals on this agenda as well.
Often found in the short-term rental process.
Okay, thank you.
Marson, do you want to step up and let us know what your plans are for the property?
And just make sure the red light is on if it's not on.
It's,
Okay.
so yeah, so I wanna rent it out. I purchased the property here. Unfortunately, like, somebody finished the basement without pulling the permits. It works a little bit different in the, Illinois. There's like a pre-sale inspection before you put the house on the market. So the previous owner should take care of it, but it's okay. I mean, I gotta do what I gotta do, yeah. So, I wanna put it on the market to help me pay the mortgage a little bit, I always go here for fishing so many years, and finally I bought the property so I can enjoy myself and also make some money to help me pay for the mortgage on the house, yeah.
Any commissioner questions?
You are aware you need to have a property manager within 25 miles?
Yes, I got the info, and actually I'm here like every week, every Tuesday. So, yeah. And I got the information. I don't know, should I give it to the board meeting or?
You can email it to me following the meeting.
Okay.
That would be fine.
No problem.
And
Okay.
then I do reflect that we still need a tourist rooming house license issued through Wood County, where they come out and do that health inspection, but I didn't receive a copy of that yet.
There is no copy? Okay. So, yeah, my wife, she's gonna email it to you.
Okay. She
We
can
got
email it with the building, with the
Okay.
property manager.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. 7B. Sorry? Oh, is there anybody out in the audience or watching this that has any comments regarding this conditional use permit? Okay, thank you. 7B, consideration of the issuance of a conditional use permit for the following purpose. The short-term rental at the property located at 387 Setting Sun Trail, owned by Setting Sun Bluegill LLC, Stephanie Kramer, also described as Lot 45 of Setting Sun addition to Lake Arrowhead, northwest 1/4, southwest 1/4, Section 17, Town 20 North, Range 6 East, Town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, parcel number of 030-04197. Emily?
Okay, so this is gonna be the same case with the previous owner did not have permits, and then she's bringing it up to code. Stephanie Kramer is here today, she's a property owner. There are 12 notice letters sent to the properties within 200 feet of this property. Staff recommends a maximum occupancy of 10, this is different than what's on, the administrator report. Maximum vehicles of 5 to be parked on hard surfaces, not on grass or lawn, at the property. Stephanie, if you feel free to come up.
Stephanie's not here. I'm here on.
Oh. Okay. Kate.
I talked to you yesterday.
Okay, and then just re-clarifying, yesterday we determined that there's no egress window in the bedroom, just in the,
Yeah, there is.
there is in the bedroom?
Yeah, in the basement bedroom, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so occupancy of 11, not 10.
What size is that egress window?
I don't know. Mark looked at it. He said it was fine. We didn't need a ladder on it,
Okay,
is what he said, but I don't know. I could measure it if you need me to.
so occupancy of 11, vehicles still 5.
Nick?
Mr. Chair, just a general question, as some may have the same kind of question. I understand, how we're moving that up to 11, we have a calculation based off of that. How are as you're setting number of vehicles, moving that up from the previously recommended 2 to 5, what are you basing that off of? The increase in square footage, then correlating to an increase in vehicles? Because they're not increasing the driveway space.
Occupancy, so, I mean, if they had an extremely long driveway, but only square footage for 3 people, we're not gonna permit 10 cars.
I see. So you're drawing down the recommendation for vehicles when the maximum occupancy is lower.
Correct.
Thank you.
Anything you'd like to say, ma'am?
Nope, just helping Stephanie rent out her place so that she doesn't have to sell it because she had some unfortunate life events, so.
Are you like the property manager?
I'll call myself that. I have my own properties that I manage, but I don't currently have a business that I run.
Okay.
Are you within 25 miles of the property?
I live like 2 minutes away, yeah.
And this property did not need additional permits?
This property did.
Yeah.
And those
Yes,
have been
and that's
taken?
why, yes.
Okay,
I have her information here, and that's how we're everyone that I changed the occupancy on, which is gonna be this one and the next 2, they are pulling permits because the previous owners did not.
so this one should also include a building inspector approval of a basement remodel?
Basement remodel.
Okay.
Okay, any commissioner questions to this young lady? Okay, thank you.
I do have a question for town staff, though. It's not normal that we have all of these changes. Is this because the inspections occurred and within like the last week, or?
It's because there haven't been inspections yet, so we weren't alerted that there were no permits pulled. So this is going through property files while calculating occupancy and finding that permits were not pulled. Cause property files show an unfinished basement. So packet went out, found the permits were not pulled, and they all agreed to pull permits, bring their houses up to compliance.
Okay, thanks.
Permits were paid for already?
2 out of the 4, other 2 agreed, they said they'll be here today and we'll be paying.
I have a question. Sir?
So, I had an inspection so I had the inspection last Thursday with the Mr. Danny inspector, and he walked through the basement, you know, and actually he saw the basement, so he pointed me some things in the basement that needs to be fixed. I fixed everything that he wanted me. I sent him the pictures. He said we good. So I don't know, we have to set up another inspection or?
No, he just needs to email us confirmation that what he inspected was corrected. And
Yes.
he may just not have gotten to that report yet.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so he was walking, you know, around the whole basement and he pointed the things that needs to be done. It was simple things like railings and stuff, you know, so I fixed it. I stay like one more day and I fix, so. And he told me that everything's okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. 7C, consideration of the issuance of a conditional use permit for the following purpose. The short-term rental at the property located at 377 15th Avenue, owned by Kyle Krostowski, also described as Lot 104 of Kingswood addition to Lake Arrowhead, southeast 1/4, Section 14, Town 20 North, Range 5 East, Town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, parcel number of 030-03311. Emily?
10 notice letters were sent to properties within 200 feet of the affected property. Staff recommends a maximum occupancy of 8, maximum vehicles of 4 to be parked on hard surfaces, not on the lawn or grass at the property. Egress was determined in the basement, which added that occupancy onto that, onto the recommendation. Kyle is here.
Do building permits need to be taken for this also?
Done. Yes.
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 But final inspection for basement that was previously finished needs to be completed.
Yes.
Okay.
Kyle?
How we doing today?
Good.
Good.
So what do you want to tell us about what's gonna be happening over there?
Well, me and my family enjoy golfing, and we want to be up in the area and still try to, you know, counteract the mortgage, like I said previous, and we just really enjoy the area. Like to buy some more up here.
I'm sorry.
I have previously spoken to Kyle's spouse. This property does have a slide that's off the deck.
Which will be removed.
I've asked
Yeah.
that it would be removed, or I would ask Plan Commission as part of the conditional use that slide would be removed. I don't feel like that's necessarily safe for,
No, I agree.
yeah,
I agree.
okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm removing it tonight. I've got an inspection tomorrow morning, so. Thank you.
Is there anybody out there that had any questions or comments regarding this conditional use permit? Okay, hearing none.
Chair,
Yes, sir.
one question. I do see a Illinois address. Is there a property manager that is
Yes.
local?
Yep.
Thank you.
Does the zoning administrator have that information regarding your property manager?
They should. It was emailed out.
It's Brighter Homes, is it not?
Yep.
Okay, yep, we're good.
Thank you. 7D, consideration of the issuance of a conditional use permit for the following purpose. Short-term rental at the property located at 288 Cranbrook Court, owned by Family Limited Partnership Wilcox, also described as Lot 37 of Cranbrook addition to Lake Camelot, southeast 1/4, Section 9, Town 20 North, Range 6 East, Town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, parcel number of 030-05261. Emily?
10 notice letters were sent to properties within 200 feet of the affected property. Staff recommends a maximum occupancy of 8, maximum vehicles of 4 to be parked on hard surfaces, not on the lawn or grass at this property. Stephanie from Picasa is here.
I'm Stephanie from Bacasa, and we'll just be managing the property.
Was this another one that had building permits?
Yes.
And were those permits taken?
These were not paid for yet.
Okay.
Can I
Eh.
then ask a follow-up? So, So I don't see a change in your recommendation though to the occupancy or the vehicles. Is that,
What was stated verbally is different from what's contained in the
I said
findings of
8
fact.
floors.
sorry, I'm on the wrong,
Okay.
thank you, sorry.
And this will also include then a final building inspection by the
Yes.
building inspector. Okay, so you're aware that then the permit has to be paid for
Okay, I'll let them know.
as far as the basement remodel? Okay?
Thanks.
And Stephanie, the owner had emailed and just also asked the question, their insurance is good. We would still need also the tourist rooming house license for this property, which is the one issued by Wood County.
Okay. I'll have Nicole email that over to you when I get it.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that needs to make a comment regarding this conditional use permit? Okay. 7E, consideration of the issuance of a conditional use permit for the following purpose. Consideration of, for the purpose of the short-term rental at the property located at 913 Kingsway, owned by Paula Mickelson and Rodney Hammonds, also described as Lot 47 of Falk Addition to Lake Camelot, located in the southwest 1 quarter, section 10, and northeast 1 quarter, northwest 1 quarter, section 15, town 20 north, range 6 east, town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, parcel number of 030-05583. Emily?
14 notice letters were sent to the properties within 200 feet of this affected property. Staff recommends a maximum occupancy of 8, maximum vehicles of 4 to be parked on hard surfaces, not on the lawn or grass at the property. I believe Rodney is here.
And Paul.
And Paul is here.
Hi.
We've been vacationing in this area for a number of years, and this year in June purchased the property. And our intent is to retire here in 4-ish years, 4 to 5 years. In the meantime, we'd like to rent it out short-term when we're not using it. We have experience renting out Airbnb at our other property in Spring Green. 5-star ratings. So we've been doing it a little while. Happy with the process.
Okay.
We had our inspection yesterday, just received the report within an hour ago. So we just need to know if we still need permits.
You're all good.
We're good.
No permits needed.
Very good.
Everyone that needed permits were contacted.
Okay, yeah, that was a question yesterday. All right, appreciate it.
Do you have a couple correction items though that needed to be taken care of?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, we have a couple of railing items and other items related to the deck that need to be addressed and a couple inside items. It sounds like we'll need a reinspection. Oh, and the property manager, we have Wisconsin Waterfront Cleaning Service, Jessica French Georgeson.
She represents a couple of our other properties too, so.
Any questions by the commissioners? Anyone out in the audience? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
7F, consideration of the issuance of a conditional use permit for the following purpose. The short-term rental at the property located at 567 Feather Trail, owned by Jennifer and Ryan Knopp, also described as Lot 29 of Penwood Addition to Lake Arrowhead, northeast 1 quarter, southeast 1 quarter, section 27, town 20 north, range 5 east, town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, parcel number of 030-03742. Emily?
There are 14 notice letters sent to properties within 200 feet of the affected property. Staff recommends a maximum occupancy of 8, maximum vehicles of 4 to be parked on hard surfaces, not on the lawn or grass at the property. No additional permits were needed. Jennifer is here.
I was waiting for my intro.
Hi there.
Hello.
This is primarily our family cabin, and so we're just looking to offset some of the costs and do a short-term rental when we're not using it. That's about it.
Nick?
Just a general question I see on the application, the notation for the term or duration of the conditional uses to be determined. Are you asking for some kind of drawn down duration of any
No,
sort?
I just wasn't quite sure. I I just had assumed, I guess it was ongoing, I didn't quite know.
Yeah, so indefinite is what you're
Yep.
looking for?
Yep.
Thank you.
But we stipulate indefinite as long as there's a short-term rental
Right,
license.
I'm just asking for purposes of their application. We, of course, when we get to the point of considering approval, typically we do require the maintaining of a short-term rental license on that.
Understood.
Any commissioner questions? Anything from anyone in the audience? Thank you. 7G, consideration of a site plan of operation for Wenger Enterprises LLC. Thomas J. Wenger for the property located at 1124 County Road D, also described as Lot 1 of CSM 6696, located in the southeast 1/4, northeast 1/4, Section 8, Town 20 North, Range 6 East, Town of Romanus County, Wisconsin, parcel number of 030-00641-0020. Emily?
There are 5 notice letters sent to properties within 200 feet of the affected affected property. Just to note, please reference the included article, the articles for B1 Business District and Design Standards of the Town Code. Those are included in the packet. I just wanted to note that the only possible concern that I found was possible color scheme, not correlated with the earth tones.
Not the whole building, the roof, I thought was the concern.
The building is gray. There's 2 shades of gray, and then the roof, it wasn't stated what color the roof was, but based on the picture, it was a white. And in code, it says a darker earth tone. And Tom is here for any questions.
Any questions?
Well, Nick?
I see on the application for the site plan and plan of operation, you have a noted use of commercial building with no public access. Can you elaborate on your intended use for the property?
Yeah, my wife and I are consultants, and we just need space to stage. I do IT consulting, staging equipment. She does design consulting, so just kind of setting stuff up, pay examples for customers, excuse me, and stuff. No public access though, just for us. Like clients won't be going through it or anything like that.
So storage of your staging materials, is that what I'm hearing?
Very short-term storage, like just passing through. It's not like a warehouse or anything like that.
Cause there's no bathroom.
No bathroom.
And,
No electricity.
if there would be electricity, because it's a commercial space, it would have to go through the county.
Question, this property isn't within the Gateway District, does that not require the apron to be paved?
It is within the Gateway District, yes. And I believe with the boat barn, we handled that as the first 200 feet, cause that would be the Gateway area.
Were you aware of that requirement?
I'll have to discuss that with my attorney and get back to you.
We have made accommodations in recent history, I believe. Is that true,
I mean, based on timeline.
based on time?
Yes, like, Slice of Heaven is the one that comes to mind about paving. I think we gave 18 months in order to get it accomplished as part of site plan of operation.
We
We'll have
did
to
that
work
because there were some issues with the prior owner. That was the only reason.
Okay, well, makes no difference to me. But other question, color of the building. Speaking of other things that apparently slipped by us, there's a building that's 2 properties down that's black and white. That's not earth tones. So I'm not sure what happened there. And I looked back through our packets and we weren't given color samples on that building. So,
We were given color samples on the building. I believe it was presented in a blue tone.
No, it was supposed to be dark blue.
it must have been given to us at the meeting then?
I'd have to look back at that packet, but
There was a color drawing.
I believe it was presented as a dark
Rendering.
blue.
Okay.
Rendering showed a dark blue, which questionable as earth tone, but it's black now.
Appears to be black and white to me unless I need an eye test. Somebody let me know.
No, it looks like the Kentucky Derby. Black and white.
Just on the building structure too, it's not noted on the one schematic, is the overhang at least 12 inches on all sides?
24.
24, cool, thank you.
Now, the zoning code then, like Emily had stated, calls roofs with darker earth tone colors are expected. Have you made any decisions as to changing the color of the roof or anything?
So it's a dark gray siding with a light gray wainscot, and the light gray was going on the roof. It's charcoal and ash are the colors on the, I think she's got the pamphlet. in
Yeah.
front of her.
So light gray would be the roof, charcoal and ash gray would be the two-tone of the building.
Yes.
And no signage.
Nope.
There's a lot of,
Follow-up question to the zoning administrator. Based off of the discussed use, is it your determination that this is a permitted use in the zoning district?
I'm just looking for the exact use on here. Forgot the phrasing that yes, it was, I did review the use, and it was multiple uses, so it's like an office space. I trying to find the exact phrasing that they have on here.
Personal and business service establishment.
The use specified is a little bit vague, right, commercial.
well, personal and business service establishment, professional office / studio. And that sounds applicable to,
What type of products would you store in it again?
Well, I do IT consulting, so I stage like network racks and stuff like that, and then move them out.
Okay.
So
Supervisor,
Professional office.
Supervisor Goldman, were you saying personal and business service establishment? Is that? or
I'm
which-
reading off the list from
Yep.
the ordinances here.
Yeah, which one were you? Professional office studio? Is that?
Well, there's two different ones, personal and business
I know,
service
I
establishment,
just-
yep. And then professional office / studio was one line, unless you're reading something different.
I see. Are you, I'm just making sure I understand. Were you saying that you felt that that fit professional office studio?
Based on,
it'd be more of the personal business services one.
That's what I'm looking for. I'm just trying to clarify it and really just build a record that shows that we reviewed the use and determined that that was appropriate, that's all. It's not that I'm saying that that's not. I just think that it's important, no different than, the conversation about our requirements in gateway overlay and making sure that that is very clear and reflected in the minutes, that's all.
So personal and business service establishment, I think that's where I was looking under. Service establishment, just that phrasing. Is there two ways of looking at service establishment? I just wanna be clear that, is this a personal establishment or a business service establishment or personal service establishment? Is there, I'm thinking personal establishment is where I was, thinking this building would fall under.
The concern I would have with, that definition, even though there's no plumbing, no electricity, and when you bring in personal and uses and services, if it was to ever be sold, is there concerns that could be raised about that definition? Even though it's not specifically specified.
I think that's kinda, it can be determined here what our, how we take that definition. So I'm thinking personal and business service establishment. This is a personal establishment for their, sounds like two businesses run by him, Tom and his wife Ashley.
it's a commercial building for somewhat personal use in a business zone district, which I guess is why there's question here. or why it's difficult to just easily say, yep, good to go. I mean, I personally think looking at the building that's proposed to be built and the use that it's gonna be used as, obviously, if you were to do something else in it, you'd have to come back
Yep,
and
that's
do the
understood.
site plan and plan of operation.
Yep.
And we've got control thereon. We're not making any exceptions here, I don't feel, but that's my personal opinion. That would be detrimental to the future development of that property and surrounding properties.
The fact that this was added to as an amended agenda item just raises some concerns and red flags as well, and I think it would
We're
hurt.
just trying to beat the building season. That's
I
all.
understand that and I respect that, but I also think that, given the fact that,
I disagree with you. It was added as an amended item because there's a 30-day requirement in our ordinances once the plans are submitted. They were submitted once the agenda was already issued. Created a timing problem for us.
well, we've also had some issues with approved items that are now coming back to possibly create future issues. So I would be concerned with doing something that might not be correct.
And we've made note that we should bring back in the future the timing issue, because if you need a class 2 notice printing twice, you've already eaten 2 weeks before the meeting. It makes it hard if something comes in that day.
I understand.
Yeah,
I understand,
so.
but there's just a lot of things that we have to cover ourselves with only one meeting a month. And with the printing of notices and making very tough decisions that go by our code.
On the gateway overlay outside of the paving piece, I don't know that, because there's no outdoor storage, there's no outdoor display. Those wouldn't be concerns as far as issues within gateway. And landscaping requirement would likely be the same, that the front appearance in that 200 feet that would be.
I assume the driveway that was recently put in is yours?
Yep.
And you're gonna leave the natural, semi-natural, what's there as is?
Yeah, the building's 250 feet back to over that, for additional space, so it's pretty well hidden back there. And we curved the driveway so blocking it, you can't even see it.
Any other commissioner questions or
There
anything?
was some concern about the color of the roof.
Was a change from the white to ash gray?
I don't know if it was a change or if it was viewed as white, but the color schemes were a part of the packet.
But it doesn't call out the roof.
The roof is the ash gray. Is the color.
Roof light gray, ash gray charcoal, two-tone.
So charcoal's the siding color, ash gray is the two-tone on the bottom, so the ash gray is the roof.
Oh, okay.
Would you be open to doing a darker color for the roof?
Probably, yeah. I'd have to check with my builder and see if that's something we can change at this point. But yeah,
Okay, yep. Under design standards B3, roofs with a darker earth tone colors are expected.
okay.
Anything else? Okay, hearing none, then thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 8 is to close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Motion to close public.
Excuse me.
Seconded.
Okay, motion by Jerry, second by Paul to close the public hearing. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next section is to discuss and possible action on the following items. Number 9, discussion of possible action regarding the meeting minutes from Tuesday, August 9th, 2022. Everybody should have gotten a copy of those.
Motion to approve is printed.
Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Paul to approve the meeting minutes from August 9th. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 10, discussion of possible action, consideration of the issuance of a conditional use permit for the following purpose. A short-term rental at the property located at 655 Meadow Lane, owned by Little Valley LLC / Marson Wall, also described as Lot 49 of Arbor Valley Meadows unrecorded subdivision, CSM 586, northwest 1/4, southwest 1/4, section 34, town 20 north, range 5 east, town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, parcel number of 030-01265.
Mr. Chairman, before the motion would be made, I would just make a reminder that number of these are going to have findings of fact, of course. Also, a number of these are going to have modifications to the findings of fact that have been presented to you. This would be an example of that. So anyone that would be doing a motion, you will likely need to clarify on the findings of fact where things would be different instead of just adopting as presented. Thank you.
I would make one last reminder to all the short-term rentals, this is not approval to rent, you still have to finish the other required pieces before rental can begin. So if you need to touch base about what you're missing, we can handle that after the meeting tonight, but just approval tonight is not approval to rent.
What is the terminology that you would prefer related to the building permits?
That a final report from the building inspector is received that this home meets the UDC standards for the basement. I believe all of these are related to the basement, is that correct?
Correct. I have building inspector approval of basement remodel completed without permits, where permits were taken on, if they were taken today, and I can add by UDC standards.
Emily, what was the updated occupancy and?
This one was 8 and 4, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit of a short-term rental for 586 Arbor Valley Meadows. Sorry, I have that wrong. The address is 655 Meadow Lane, correct?
Correct.
Including the findings of fact with the following modifications: maximum of occupancy be 8, maximum vehicles be 4, and also the final report from the building inspector indicating that all UDC codes are met and the term to be indefinite so long as the rental license is maintained.
Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Jerry, to approve the conditional use permit. Commissioners, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 11, discussion and possible action, consideration of the issuance of a conditional use permit for the following purpose. A short-term rental at the property located at 387 Setting Sun Trail, owned by Setting Sun Bluegill LLC / Stephanie Kramer, also described as Lot 45 of Setting Sun addition to Lake Arrowhead, northwest 1/4, southwest 1/4, section 17, town 20 north, range 6 east, town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, parcel number of 030-04197.
Same point applies here. Emily can just confirm this. I'm showing 11 and 5.
Correct.
Nobody wants to take a stab at this?
You did a really good job on that.
You've got this down too.
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit for a short-term rental at 387 Setting Sun Trail, including the findings of fact with the following modifications: a maximum occupancy of 11, the maximum vehicles of 5, including a final report from the building inspector indicating compliance with UDC building codes, and the term to be indefinite so long as the rental license is maintained.
Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Jerry to approve the conditional use permit. Any other discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 12, discussion and possible action, consideration of the issuance of a conditional use permit for the following purpose. The short-term rental at the property located at 377 15th Avenue, owned by Kyle Krastowski, also described as Lot 104 of Kingswood addition to Lake Arrowhead, southeast 1/4, southeast 1/4, Section 14, Town 20 North, Range 5 East, Town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, parcel number of 030-03311.
So this one.
Nick?
Emily can correct if I'm misinterpreted. I have 8 and 4 for this one.
For Kyle is 4, oh, sorry, yes, 8 and 4.
Okay.
You're correct.
The UDC piece, as you've done, and this one also had the slide off the deck to be removed.
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit for the property at 377 15th Avenue, with the findings of fact and the modification of the findings of fact to include maximum occupancy of 8 and 4 vehicles. I don't know why this is so hard. And then with the final report from the building inspector demonstrating it meets UDC standards, and the removal of the slide off the deck.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Jerry to approve the conditional use permit. Any other discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 13, discussion of possible action, consideration of the issuance of a conditional use permit for the following purpose. A short-term rental at the property located at 288 Cranbrook Court, owned by Family Limited Partnership Wilcox, also described as Lot 37 of Cranbrook addition to Lake Camelot, southeast 1/4, southeast 1/4, Section 909, Town 20 North, Range 6 East, Town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, parcel number of 030-05261.
Maximum occupancy will be 8 vehicles of 4.
Are there building permits on this one?
Yes.
This one's permits still need to be taken.
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit for a short-term rental at 288 Cranbrook Court, including the findings of fact with the following modifications. The maximum occupancy to be 8, maximum vehicles of 4, final report from the building inspector indicating compliance with UDC building codes, and a term to be indefinite so long as the short-term rental license is maintained.
Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Jerry to approve the conditional use permit. Is there any other discussion?
But just note for all applicants, your term is all indefinite because it's part of your, what you're signing tonight. In addition to that, you're not renting more than one time in your 7 consecutive days, and that you have your property manager within 25 miles. If you want a copy of this afterwards, you're welcome to have it.
Hearing no comments or discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 14, discussion and possible action, consideration of the issuance of a conditional use permit for the following purpose. The short-term rental at the property located at 913 Kingsway, owned by Paula Mickelson and Rodney Hammonds, also described as Lot 47 of Falk addition to Lake Camelot, located in the southeast 1/4, southwest 1/4, Section 10, and northeast 1/4, northwest 1/4, Section 15, Town 20 North, Range 6 East, Town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, parcel number of 030-05583.
No modifications on this one.
You guys have it down to a science.
Make a motion to approve the conditional use permit for a short-term rental at 913 Kings Way, including the findings of fact with a term to be indefinite, so long as the short-term rental license is maintained.
Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Jerry to approve the conditional use permit. Any other comments or discussion, commissioners? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 15, discussion and possible action, consideration of the issuance of a conditional use permit for the following purpose. The short-term rental of the property located at 567 Feather Trail, owned by Jennifer and Ryan Knopp, also described as Lot 29 of Penwood addition to Lake Arrowhead, northeast 1/4, southeast 1/4, section 27, town 20 north, range 5 east, town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, parcel number of 030-03742.
No modifications.
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit for the property, for short-term rental for the property at 567 Feather Trail with the findings of fact as presented.
I'll second the motion.
The term is on there.
Paul?
I'm sorry. Okay, no, I didn't know who was second. They both sound alike. Motion by Jerry, second by Paul to approve the conditional use permit. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 16, discussion and possible recommendation to the town board, consideration of a site plan of operation for Wenger Enterprises LLC, care of Thomas J. Wenger, for the property located at 1124 County Road D, also described as Lot 1 of CSM 6696, located in the southeast 1/4, northeast 1/4, section 8, town 20 north, range 6 east, town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, parcel number of 030-00641-0020.
Since this is a different one, again, there's findings of fact in there. If you do have conditions upon your approval, please state that there are no conditions that are proposed in the findings of fact at this time.
Okay, I'll take it. I would propose that we approve it, as stated.
Okay, and it's a recommendation to the town board, so, is your motion to recommend approval to the town board?
Yes.
I want a second for discussion. The question was posed of the property owner if they'd be amenable to changing the color scheme to meet the ordinances. If we're going to approve anything here, I think we absolutely need to do that, and I'm concerned about the paving requirements. And I don't know if that was known to the property owner or not. And I don't know if the property owner wishes to proceed or not at this point, knowing that. So I don't know where we go from here, but I want everybody to be clear on where we're at.
I think the paving needs to be spelled out as part of the conditional use, so there's no misunderstanding. I think code requires it be done before occupancy, right?
Yes, unless otherwise specified.
That's otherwise specified.
Well, I think that he had mentioned, Mr. Wenger mentioned that he was gonna talk to his attorney first when it came to the paving issue, so, I personally don't recommend that we approve this until he comes back to us and,
Well, just, I'd say just a general note that you are recommending something to the town board. If you made that a condition, he can certainly consult with his attorney, have his attorney present at the town board meeting. If you put that as a condition, then it does move it from here to the town board. If you don't, then you would table it and have it back at a future plan commission meeting.
I think we should put conditional use of the paving to be done as required by time of occupancy. If they want something different, we can always address that.
Yeah, I agree. And the roof color. I agree.
So you'll have to amend your,
Okay, so, I'll amend And we'll add roof color
Meet code, or meet,
according to meet code and color
Design
combination.
standards.
Design standards. And then the paving of the driveway.
200 feet of the driveway,
200 feet, and what's the time frame on that again?
before occupancy,
Before occupancy?
unless otherwise agreed.
Can paving just be part of compliance with gateway overlay? That would be part of the gateway overlay.
Yeah, but I think what I'm hearing is that
Lay
they'd
it
like
out
to make this clear in their recommendation, so the town board has that, as they consider potentially approving this. So before it leaves here, basically, you're saying findings of fact as presented with those two conditions. Those conditions will then, of course, be communicated to the town board, who will consider it, on Thursday, as I understand it.
To her.
I
Before
am hearing before
occupancy.
occupancy, which I think you will want to make clear, because there can be deviation from that, but if you're saying before occupancy, we want to be clear about that.
I think that's what code requires. Yeah, and it says unless otherwise agreed upon with the town board.
I think for purposes of the plan commission, what's been motioned thus far is probably fine, and we probably shouldn't even be discussing this without seconding the amendment, but the town board can deal with any negotiation, should there be any negotiation on this. I think that's what's appropriate.
And just a comment, you were the second, right?
I was the second, I accept the second.
Okay,
yeah.
just making sure so I can.
To be clear, I accept
note
the
that
second.
in the note. Thank you.
So I'm sorry, do you want to read back then the
For the amendment, sorry.
amended motion, Nick?
Yeah, I have a motion to recommend to the town board the approval of the site plan of operation with adoption of the findings of fact to include the following conditions. That the roof color be adjusted to meet town code design standards. Second, paving of 200 feet of the driveway before occupancy to conform with the ordinance requirements.
Any other discussion on this amended motion? Okay, hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 17, discussion of possible referral to a future agenda, review zoning district requirements regarding signs and billboards. I'll wait till you're done, Nick.
Okay. Unless you want to take it, Emily.
Emily?
No, you
I
go for it.
Sure, so I believe this was a referred item to a future agenda, so we can review the sign ordinance standards and have a conversation regarding those standards, and possibly then amend on a future agenda, amend the ordinance where it will be determined appropriate to adjust the standards that we have. Maybe just a general review for those that are on the plan commission since it went into place. So we did a fairly significant update to our sign ordinance regulations after Reed. Reed came down from the US Supreme Court a number of years ago. I want to say maybe 2018, but that, don't quote me on that one. The Reed decision is what made the changes necessary. You needed to be content neutral in your ordinance requirements, and so we did make some rather significant updates to our ordinance, and in response to that, certainly doesn't mean that it isn't isn't necessary and appropriate and very prudent to review these ordinance regulations and potentially amend them. But I just wanted to give a little bit of background, kind of why we had amended the ordinance in the first place, and really, as we may consider adjustments, we would just want to pay mind to Reed, and I'll assist as we kind of consider some potential amendments to the ordinance.
Could you touch on some of the key points of Reed?
Yeah, well, I mean, the most key point of Reed was that your regulations need to be content neutral, meaning that rather than specify in your sign regulations that, for example, very specific content of a sign, okay, there's maybe some minor exceptions to that, where it's specified like that in statute, for example, with political signs.
Okay.
With an exception to that, you have to look at content neutral regulations. So for example, square footage was less of a focus in our prior rendition of this ordinance. Now, after Reed, that would be a content neutral regulation, right? This idea of height and square footage and monument signs and billboards and those kind of things that maybe pay less attention to the content of the sign and rather looks at it from a content neutral standpoint. Again, that's probably the key point of Reed, was this idea that, and if you look at our previous version, if you look back to maybe like 2015, 16 time, you'll see a lot of examples of very content specific regulations, because everybody did. I mean, that was a normal thing until that got changed with Reed. Now you do need to be much more content neutral with some limited exceptions, as I stated.
Some of the questions I had were pertaining to signs specifically in the Gateway District, and how when new businesses are being sold, existing businesses are being sold, or new businesses come in, specifically looking back at like when Dollar General had purchased land and we had them do a monument sign, which is really different from how Dollar General does it in other communities. They have the very high signs. And we had them put in a monument sign. So if an older business is purchased that sits there for a long time and a new business comes in and buys that and they put their sign on an old post, like what do we have in place that we can say, well, you now have to put that to a monument level in the Gateway District? I mean, so those are some of the questions that I had, that some of those codes that we have in there I find somewhat confusing, that don't specify what can we say to that new business coming in. You have to change that now. Given aside what we went through with KT, okay, that's out of the realm of what we're discussing here, okay?
Yeah, the zoning variance would be
Right.
very much aside.
Right.
But it is a very good point, and so it brings up a couple important considerations, ones that can kind of foster a larger conversation, certainly. And so number one, that deals with, first, a sign that, it's a good example because it deals with a sign that is pre-Reed and pre this ordinance. Okay, so Dollar General was around 2016-ish. That would have been done at the site plan of operation stage. We set certain standards for them that included a certain sign type. That being before our ordinance requirements creates this idea of this non-conforming structure, right? And we have some regulations. Certainly with any non-conforming structures, you have a desire, I think, as a community to see eventual conforming.
Right.
Okay, but it definitely makes it more difficult where it's non-conforming. And so if, for example, they were looking at replacing on the sign in the exact same spot and in the sign area, we just would have to be careful. And maybe that is an area we can adjust or clarify in our ordinance, but we do want to be careful because the content of the sign, we have to be careful as we approach that for the reasons that I just said, right?
Right.
And so it brings up larger conversations surrounding non-conforming signs. In that instance, for example, because it existed before our ordinance changed. So it was a legal sign before that. I think it actually might be legal now. I'm not sure. We'd have to look at that. I haven't ever reviewed the Dollar General sign and ran it against these regulations. But
I just use that as an example.
It does bring up, it's a good example because it brings up considerations about non-conforming signs, this idea that a business might change, okay, and what happens there? Well, in some situations, the business changing would necessitate another site plan and plan of operation, so there can be a different review, right? In other situations, you may not have that quite in the same way, but there still may be a requirement, and I think there is, for a sign plan. So we will review that internally when there might be a change in business and run that against our standards. But, good point, and I think one area that we could look closer at and maybe strengthen or adjust if needed is our area for the non-conforming signs and how we work to get that conforming within the confines of READ.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So is that something that we could discuss further as a plan commission then?
Most
That we
certainly.
could, okay.
Yeah, I think there's a couple different options that you'd have. Certainly you can discuss that further here. You could, you know, if we could get direction and then we could, you know, have a conversation just about that chunk, you know, so we can take this kind of as a piece and work through that as, at the plan commission. Because it's a long ordinance, and that's the only reason I say that is because that's a really good example of a section of our ordinance that really could warrant some further discussion, and it helps boil down what otherwise is a very lengthy ordinance.
It is. It's a very big one. And the reason it's also coming to light is that as part of CDA, the Community Development Authority, with new businesses coming in now, building either new or buying older buildings that are either empty or changing hands, part of the beautification initiative is that, you know, specifically in the Gateway overlay, it affects our look. So, you know, how do we want to look and how do we want to welcome people into our community? So, and it's like if they're non-conforming and we want to bring them into conformance, you know, is this somewhere we could start? You know, and how do we want it to, you know, how do we want that to look? So if it's a monument sign for Dollar General, then maybe some of these older businesses, you know, should look cleaner and nicer as well. So that's why I asked that question. So is that a conversation we want to do as beautification with CDA, or do we want to do that here as Plan Commission because it's part of the code? So I thought it was better here rather than CDA. But that's why I brought that. And then the other question I had is, with all of these temporary signs that are popping up everywhere, there's like a dozen of them on the corner of 15th Avenue and Alpine, and you can't even read most of them, you know, and then there's another dozen of them on 15th and Apache, and, you know, we have a code that says you can have them like political signs out there for 14 days and you take them down. Well, most of them either blow away if there's a bad windstorm or get run over by a lawnmower, or so they lay out there, and some of them get picked up, some of them don't, some of them are for special events, and do we maybe want to take a look at that particular code and think about that as a plan commission? So that's why I brought this subject matter up. I thought that was an easy piece of the code to kind of zero in on.
Can I ask you just a couple questions? And actually, I'll add one additional comment to the temporary sign piece, and that is just, as I had mentioned there, this one plays a little bit also, though, with statute, in that there is a section of statute that deals with political signs, so there is a little bit of dual review that we'd have to do if we looked at that, but you can certainly review temporary signs. The question I had was, I think you had mentioned that CDA is reviewing, or has reviewed, or currently is maybe reviewing some of the beautification pieces, and
We're starting an initiative. We're not
okay.
reviewing anything, we're just starting an initiative. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, and I'm only stating that or asking about that to see if part of that initiative, has there been any discussion and maybe some recommendations that
No.
that we can utilize?
No, we haven't
or
even gotten that far. No,
Do you think that there might be?
no,
Okay,
not
That's-
at this time. No, we're just in our infant stages,
okay, thank you.
just infant. That's why I thought the sign thing with code really kind of belongs in our wheelhouse.
So, one option then that we could have is that we bring those sections, pull those out and focus on those first. That'd be a good starting point, as we kind of review this. Like I said, it's a long ordinance, to try to approach the whole thing at once would take probably a whole meeting to do it. And maybe, if those are the areas, and maybe if there's other ones that you all have seen. We can bring those on a future agenda, review those specifically, have a conversation around it, and potentially propose some amendments. Would that be acceptable?
I think that's a great idea by breaking it out in sections. Otherwise, like you said, it's gonna be a major endeavor to try and go through it all at one time, so. With Lori's idea, I would just suggest that we do those two signed sections to start with and see where it goes from there.
Sure.
That you could have a special, that doesn't require a class 2 notice, right? So that would,
Well,
you could have a,
yeah, so the only time that this is gonna require a certain formal process is gonna be when we actually, potentially, would get to ordinance amendment. Okay, that, of course, will require a process for public hearing, and that, but as we would review the ordinance, certainly there's no requirement for, class 2 notice or anything like that. Normal notice. On the agenda, it would just be noted as review sign code, I think as it is right now.
Commissioners, any other thoughts?
Thank you. Thank you for the explanation, clarification.
Well, I think that's the way we'll proceed on then, number 17 then, Nick.
Thank you.
Number 18, discussion of possible referral of future agenda, communicate joint subcommittee discussion of canopies in relation to accessory structures.
I think Emily did a very good job of giving you an overview earlier in the agenda. Just a note, I would say that this may be on the next agenda, it may be a little bit further out, only because at the next subcommittee meeting, they are going to take a look at definitions first, depending on how long that takes. The ordinance that, or recommendations that you'll likely see is going to have two components. Definitions where we don't have definitions currently, and regulations where regulations may be proposed to be added. They're working through the definitions piece. I think as what we saw was as we don't have that definition piece worked through, it was being very circular in that we didn't have a mutual understanding. And I think that it kind of exemplified the idea that we need good definitions. And so we're gonna work through the definitions. You may not see this item until 2 meetings from now, just because it's gonna, I think, take the subcommittee a little bit of time, work through the definitions, then the regulations that they're recommending, then it would come to you.
And just so anybody who's wondering, we have a very restrictive ordinance in place currently. There's lots of people that aren't in compliance with it, and we're working to open that up and make it less restrictive and more favorable, my opinion, with today's accessory structures, if you will, on properties, so.
Oh, okay.
I would say that, and to be clear, you know, to the point where there's definitions that just aren't there, I think it raises questions on, well, what does this relate to, and does this cover these situations? I think as we've looked at that in the subcommittee, we've recognized that that there's an opportunity to be clear with our definitions, and so a big part of that right now is just kind of working through that, getting those definitions kind of in place as a recommendation, and then, yes, as Supervisor Goldman has stated, to then work through our ordinance, and it definitely doesn't mean, so every time that we review an ordinance doesn't necessarily mean that we're tightening things down, and, you know, sometimes it can mean that we're clarifying things and making things easier to understand and administer, so.
I'm glad you said that, Dan, because I've had people ask me, you mean I can't, because some of those are getting quite expensive and they're very, very nice, and people want them in their yards, so I'm glad you said that.
Any other comments or questions regarding the discussion on canopies? Okay. Number 19, discussion and possible referral to a future agenda, review zoning code requirements regarding short-term rental licensing procedures.
Can we keep this on here and just keep moving it forward until we have time to really talk about it more?
Okay, so you just want to move this to a
As a
future
placeholder,
agenda?
yeah, just not to lose sight of it.
Can we iron this out over winter when there's
Yes,
less applications? Because we need to do something here.
yes. That's why it's on here, I just don't want to lose sight of it.
I don't, we certainly can keep it moving forward. I just, speaking as the individual that handles most of the short-term rentals and most of the process, I find true value in this, and I would like Plan Commission to still be involved. And I think the Plan Commission is still involved, it's a conditional use permit.
I see that. I'm just concerned about half our meetings getting consumed by.
Right. I would
Short-term
tell
rentals.
you, in looking at, in previous years of Plan Commission minutes, Emily said to me, there's no April meeting, where did it go? And I said, we didn't need one. It's not that it's not there, we didn't have enough items. I mean, it just shows the level of,
That
the
was last
increase of things that have come through plan.
So what would you intend to do, just real quick, this is a brief outline in a meeting like this, or would you rework the system, adjust it?
So as things are transitioning from her to me for creating these packets, the big thing with the change of occupancy in vehicles, that was me not fully understanding what to include for that occupancy, cause I had the understanding that if the permits weren't pulled, then it would not be included, but they needed the permits regardless. So that was just my error. It will go back, last meeting I heard it went very smooth and quick. It's going back to that, this error will not happen again.
But Paul, I think your question was actually broader than that, so if I can maybe respond to some of that. I think it would be envisioned that the Plan Commission would review the short-term rental process that we currently have in place. Maybe review areas where we could streamline, while still maybe fitting in the idea that we have a Plan Commission review, and whether, I mean, that can all be part of the conversation. I think it's just revisiting the process, reviewing, what that process looks like and where we may be able to streamline and improve, I think. And I would agree that during the slower months, it makes it a lot easier to do that.
I think there's always been some concern about residents allowing too many short-term rentals and not doing enough. I think our current procedure secures the fact that, or secures the idea that this short-term rental has been approved with a lot of requirements, not just a rubber stamp and let them go to work with. So I personally think we ought to keep it similar to what we have, but maybe we can streamline some areas. But I think we need to have the requirements there so that the property owner has to put forth some effort before they can start renting out and have the guidelines that we have, restrictions we have.
Emily and I discussed one thing that would help in the, you've seen we don't require that what they submit for the layout of the home, it can be hand-drawn, right? We do ask that it's in straight lines, but it can be hand-drawn. We have discussed maybe for next year and for the renewal, we would also require that they provide photos. I mean, they're taking photos of the property to list them online, and I think it would be, it's easier to have the conversation, where is the window in the basement? How large is the window in the basement? Is the patio door out to a deck? If we have photos of those properties, both inside and out, which they would be taking anyways for the advertisement of the property. So we talked maybe next year that would be a piece, and that would help streamline this process to know what that occupancy is, because we would have actual photos of the home instead of just hand drawings.
Exactly.
Well, it was helpful today with the slide. You can see that in the packet.
Yep.
I can't tell you.
Perfect example.
And I can't tell you how happy the people in Kingswood neighborhood, you know how long that slide's been there? Seriously?
That was not the reason.
No, but
for the slide.
I just know how long it's been there. No, I'm just.
It's being held up by rotted timber.
No, I'm just- but no, that's a very valid point. I mean, they're putting these on sites to rent them. They can give us pictures on how to approve them. So that's part of that piece of conversation for approval, making the approval process easier. But also there's, again, that density piece of that can be, if you're the sole homeowner in the neighborhood that's there year round, and in the summer, there's 5 other homes on your street that are all short-term rentals, can that be part of that conversation? And is that something that we can also look at? I don't know, but I would like more information on that as well. I don't know.
We can certainly have a conversation.
Yes.
I think we have in the past
Right.
had conversations. about options that might exist, we can
Certainly
have
look
that
at
conversation again.
in the winter, yes.
So we would leave that one off for this next month.
Well, leave it on there as a placeholder so we don't lose sight of it, I guess, is.
Okay.
Okay, the next section is dates and items for future agenda / meetings. Next agenda items, there's 2 roof pitch requirement and the comprehensive plan.
What is
and
the
zoning.
roof pitch for, do you know?
Yes, so, there have been a few people, residential neighborhood,
Home
new
construction.
homes.
Oh, okay.
And they've wanted to discuss, roof pitch requirement being dropped down to 3/12 to allow for more, flexibility with design.
Felt more modern
creative
design.
Yeah, modern, creative design of houses, and it allows for more square footage. I don't know the architectural side of it, but there's been multiple in the last couple weeks, actually.
Are you going to add the Rome Meats building onto the next agenda?
Yes, thank you.
And the comprehensive plan and zoning map amendment that was noticed, because that requires a 30-day notice, but it's 2 parcels that are being requested from FR to R2.
And then designation of the plan commission secretary.
Yeah.
And I believe there's a site plan of operation as well.
I have,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
have one also. The Rome Snow Bandits would like to store some equipment outdoors. And in our district there, it says outdoor storage is restricted. We would like to store the drag that we don't use all the time outdoors and screen it in with wood fencing so it's not visible behind the building. I don't know how to proceed with that, so it has to be agenda item or interpretation.
We can start in an agenda item and, yeah, have the discussion if it would need to be can it be a site plan, or does it need to be considered for an ordinance amendment? But
Well, it's allowed, but it's restricted, is what it says. Interpretation of restricted.
maybe bringing it as a site plan to view what the plan would be for outdoor storage.
Start with the site plan operation.
Yeah.
We can do that. That would be on the next agenda then.
Secretary.
We also need to include either an appointment or election of a secretary for the commission.
And I have 4 short-term rentals right now.
And I would like to see us actually be, if we could be, make sure that we're specific with the Rome Meats and Deli, that we speak specifically to the items, that were missed and, how we can avoid that sort of thing in the future. What we can do, if there's some sort of checklist or how that was, we need to get really drilled down to the specifics on that. Thank you.
Any other ideas for agenda items for next month? Okay. Then we'll move on to number 21, which is the next meeting date and time will be October 11th, 2022 at 4 p.m. And then I will declare the meeting adjourned at 5:35 p.m.